I just want to ask you a bit about your experience suffering from mental health, anxiety and depression.
My experience of it is that you wear a mask, and the mask is that you're happy and everything's brilliant and nothing's a problem. And when people used to say to me, "How are you keeping?" I said, "Any happier I couldn't stick it. Everything's fantastic." But that was a lie, and I was lying to people. I was lying to myself, and I was lying to my family and my friends. And when I got back in to the house again, which was my safe place, once I closed the door, the anxiety, the depression, it was there to meet me, and it welcomed me in. And I sat down, and I didn't want to answer a phone call. I didn't want to open a door if someone was rapping to see how I'm keeping, or if I wanted to do something. And it just started to envelop me. It started to take over me. And it got to the stage that I was making excuses to family and friends for not turning up to events, not going on holiday, not even going out for a walk. There was always something there. Oh, I can't because of this, my back's too sore, my whatever. And then it got to the point that when the phone used to ring, I used to look at it, and I used to call it the fear. The fear's ringing, because you had to actually answer someone, and you had to actually say something. So eventually, after years of pretending I was fine, it got that exhausting that I actually had to hold my hand up, and I had to, expose my soft underbelly, so to speak, and I had to more or less go to the GP and say, "Look, I'm in a really bad place, and I'm pretending not to be, and the pretending not to be is exhausting, and I'm exhausted." And the GP spoke to me, obviously prescribed antidepressants and stuff, and I'm not one for taking a lot of tablets. I didn't take well to the antidepressants because I thought they just switched off everything. They didn't want to make me get off a sofa, go make something to eat. They just took away the will to do anything, so I come off those. So I went to the GP again, and I said, "Look, I need help from someone professional. I need to talk to someone." I spoke to my family, I spoke to my friends, they helped me, but I never really truly told them how deeply depressed I was, how hard it was for me to just even get out of bed, to open the blinds. I mean, the house I used to live in, the blinds were closed 24/7 because I was shutting out the world, and I wanted the world to go away. And I remember saying that to one of the counsellors and saying, "Look, I want the world to go away." But yet, when I was running my businesses, I was out laughing and joking, and everything's fine, and I'll sort that out, and don't you worry about that. And it would have been hard for anyone, unless they'd been through it, to realise where I was. And I eventually got signposted to a counsellor, and I went and seen this lady once a week, and she asked me how I was feeling, and she told me it's okay to feel that way, and she's there to help. And it was her that actually said to me, "Paul, there's a course coming up to be a community health trainer, and I think you'd be very good at it, and I think it might help you also with your own condition." So I attended the course, and it was over 12 weeks with Verve, Lisa McAliskey, who's based in Legahori Health Centre. Lisa was taking the course along with a lady called Susan, and what they were talking about, it really rang home to me. Everything they were saying I had, but I was masking it even there. Before I was going to the course, before I was going over the door, I was taking diazepam tablets for my anxiety, so that I could talk to people without literally running away, because I was jumping out of my skin. And I completed the course, and I spoke to Lisa just today, and I said, "Lisa, the Armagh I are coming to have a word with me about this, about the video that was posted on the grapevine." And she said, "Paul, that's fine, just make sure that people in the borough and in the area know that there are organisations that are here to help, and they want to help, and there are people who've been through it too, because it's hard for you to tell someone from a book what to do, but if you've been there yourself, if you've been in the trenches, you can say, I know we are. I know how dark it is, and I know that, I mean, some people would call their depression a name, and it sits in a room with them. You know, it's been called the black dog. Winston Churchill, he used the phrase, the black dog is with me today, and that was his depression. And when I used to wake up in the mornings, it was palpable. I could actually feel it in the room. It was a presence, and the depression was saying to me, stay where you are, don't bother going out, forget about outside, stay with me and feel sorry for yourself. And that's what I done. And then what you do is, with the anxiety, your mind's racing, and you become very cynical. And if someone puts their hand out to help you, you think, what are they doing? What's in it for them? What are they at? What's their angle? And you become distrustful of people you really should trust. But that's part of the condition. And I used to wonder, what's behind this? Why do you want to go for a walk with me? What are you going to ask me? What are you going to do? So what's the easy thing? You avoid it. You avoid people, you avoid life. That's what I did. So I went for a walk every day with my sisters. I spoke to them, I listened to what they were doing, what they were going through as well, and I masked what I was going through. And when they says to me, how are you feeling? Oh, I'm fine, I'm good, I'm brilliant, I'm here to listen to you. And then as soon as I went into the house and closed that door, I almost collapsed, because the effort it took to pretend I was fine was overwhelming. So the easy option is, don't go out, don't face life, don't breathe the air, don't go for the walk, don't go for the run, don't go out and be social. And then what happens is you turn to alcohol, because you think alcohol is your friend, and alcohol slows your brain down, helps you sleep. I mean, I would wake up most mornings between 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the mornings, and the moment I wake up, there's a feeling of dread. It's almost like I've done something. What have I done? I'm waiting on, but that's the anxiety. So then what I have to do is I get up, I come out into the garden here, cup of coffee, has to be decaf, caffeinated sends you over the moon. So I look over the fields, I breathe the air, I listen to the birds, and I say, just one day at a time. I'll just take one day at a time. Don't be thinking about what you're going to do next month. Don't be thinking about, definitely this Christmas I'm going to be. Just think today, now, here, what am I going to do today? Make today a good day. It doesn't always be a good day. I'm going to be honest, Connor, there's days I just want to lock myself inside the house. I don't want anyone to call. Some days it's stronger than others. Some days it gets that strong that you get really, really silly thoughts. And I mean, really dark thoughts. And I would take myself up round the coast on a Sunday. I would do a hike round the coast, or I would walk maybe from Portadown to Newry, up the towpath, good 20 miles, 30 miles. And the whole time I'm doing that, I'm thinking to myself, and I'm talking to myself, and I'm telling myself everything's going to be okay, and you're going to be fine, and life's too good, and you've a lot to live for, and you've got 3 children that love you and worship you. And how can you leave them? How can you do that? But what the problem is, that no matter how far you run, or no matter how far you walk, you can't get away from what's in there. It's in your mind. The battle's in your mind, but people can't see it. If I fell and broke my arm, I have a plaster cast, people understand. Look, he's hurt his arm. But I could be sitting here, or sitting at a social event and smiling and laughing and waving at people and giving them the thumbs up, and there's a war going on inside my head. And it's not just me. I've spoke to a load of people about it, and they've said to me, you don't understand where I am. And I says, no, I do. I know exactly where you are. I know how low you are, and I know it's like quicksand, like in the old cowboy movies, and the more you struggle, the deeper you sink, and you get to a point that you stop struggling, and it's prevalent. And COVID, I was self-isolating here by myself, so I was calling up to see my parents. They were at the at-risk category, so I was talking to them through the window, I wasn't able to give my mum a hug, give her a kiss. I wasn't able to give my dad a hug. Not that he's a big man for hugging, he's a man of his generation, you know. Hey, you, stay away. And then I fell into a really, really deep depression because I needed that contact and I needed that interaction to let me know that life's worth living and whatever. And I was talking to my mum and dad through the window and I couldn't bear it. And I said, look, Mum, I've got to go and do something. And so I rushed down to the house, or what did I do? I went to the off license, bought some drink, came down, sat here, put a bit of music on, reminisced about my past, and drank the alcohol. And the next morning, I felt 10 times worse. And the depression was 10 times stronger. And the anxiety was 10 times more. So what do? Go and get more drink. And it's a vicious circle. And it gets to the stage where you don't even realize you have an addiction. And that addiction is, whether it's alcohol, some people turn to drugs, some people turn to whatever. But what you're doing is you're just trying to go to something that's going to just switch off what's going on in your mind. Just switch it off. I mean, I find myself going for long walks I always have a backpack with me, hiking and stuff, and I've actually found myself talking to myself out loud, not even in my head. Don't even realize I'm talking out loud. And then all of a sudden I come upon somebody or a couple out walking and I realize that they've noticed that I'm talking to myself. So then I pretend I'm singing a song. It's like if you're going through the town and you accidentally trip and you pretend you're running a wee bit. Oh, you check your watch and you run, but you actually tripped. You know, and I've caught myself doing that, and I've said, what do you do? You're actually talking out loud here, but you're just trying to verbalize the war that's going on in your head. And the day I put the post up, and Gordy Hamill, the guy who runs the Grapevine, great lad. I used to go to a swimming club with him early in the mornings. He was training to swim the channel, and Gordy puts a lot of fantastic posts up. So he does about people in the area. And Gordy had contacted me and said, look, Paul, I've seen your post and what you said, and it rings true for an awful lot of people. Would you mind if I put it up? And I says, Gordy, put it up if it helps one person. And I know it sounds cliched, if it helps one person and all that, but that was me telling everybody that I'm just not as happy-go-lucky as everybody thinks. I've got a problem, and I'm seeing counsellors, and I've been speaking to a girl, Katrina from SHIP. Because of COVID, all the counselling sessions are done over the phone, which just aren't the same. It's just not the same. And it's not their fault, but I mean, she's been fantastic while talking to me, and she's signposted me to my GP, and she's signposted me to other organisations, and that's why I went and done the community health training course, and I'm working with a great bunch of people, and we've qualified in that, and I want to be able to go into my local community. I grew up in Tignavan Estate, and I put my hand up to cover Tignavan Estate and to cover the Dingwell Flats in Tignavan Estate. And there's troubled people in the Dingwell Flats. It's there's lovely people in it, better people than me, but there are some people who are in a bad spot and in a bad place. And I was hoping to be able to go in and just talk to them and just say, look, I know you think it's the end of the road, and I know you think your life's not going to get any better, but it will. And I've been in the depths, I've been in the abyss, as I would call it, and I'm trying my best to come out of it. And the way I do that is to get out into the open, to talk to friends, to talk to family, to talk to doctors, and just be honest. You have to be honest. I mean, you can't get advice from somebody if you're telling them lies. And if you're going to see someone who's professional and they're trying their best to help you, and you're lying to them about, I'm dead on, hey, because that's a man thing. It's a man thing. Me and my dad's generation, if they were having a problem, for them to verbalise it, they would have been seen as weak men. So what did they do? They went to the bar and they drank every night, and they caused chaos in their own homes, because what was going on in their head they couldn't cope with, and so they turned to alcohol. But they didn't have the organisations then that we have now. I mean, the Lurgan, Craigavon, Armagh, Borough areas have umpteen organisations and people who are trained to help you, trained to put their hand out and to help you out of the quicksand, but they know how to do it in a fashion where it's not too quick, it's not too fast, and they're not patronising. It's like the old, years ago my dad would have said it, a good toe up the hole, excuse the expression. He needs a good toe up the hole, but it doesn't work. You telling someone with depression or with anxiety to snap out of it, just don't be depressed. It's impossible. It's impossible. It's like telling someone who has, God forbid, cancer and just saying, just wish it away, just tell it to go away. It doesn't. It's there, it's real, and it starts to take over if you let it. If you don't, you have to admit it to yourself first. You have to admit you have a problem, and a big problem, before you turn to any organisation. And I did that. I spoke to my family, and I spoke to friends, and it's a big admittance. You know, you feel a bit lesser in yourself. And I spoke to my son. He's 19 now, and I said, look, Adam, son, as much as I love you all my heart, and I love Rachel and Emma, they're my two daughters, I says, I'm not in a good place, and I can't be the dad for you I want to be, because I'm fighting a battle here. I'm fighting my own battle, but I will win. I'll beat it. I'll learn to deal with it. I'll learn to cope with it, and I'll learn to accept it and make the best of my life. You know what I mean? Because, you know, there were very dark thoughts cross my mind quite a few times, which I told counsellors. I didn't really tell my family about it, but I was truthful with the counsellors about how much I just thought to myself, that's it, I've had it. Do you know what I mean? And they talked me around, and they convinced me about life, and they convinced me about it'll get better, and I just need to work on it. And they were 100% right, 100% right. And I mean, it's just get out into the fresh air, breathe in life, and just take it one day at a time. That's all I can say.
I think that's it's the scary step.
It is. Oh, you're all it is. Yep.
I suppose there's probably things that you could wish you could tell yourself this far down the line, maybe a couple of years ago.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I mean, I had a roof repair business, 2 barber shops, a property portfolio of houses that I rented out and stuff. And it's like the old stage show. You might be old enough, Conor, to remember it. There was an old stage show where a guy used to spin plates, and he's like a magician type guy, and he spun these plates, 8 or 10 plates, and kept them spinning on stage. But the problem was, once one started to fall, they all started to fall. And what happens in your life when depression and anxiety and maybe an addiction to alcohol takes over is the plates start to fall. And once one falls, this one falls. And then 3 fall, then 4, then 5, and when the whole lot falls, the show's over. And that's when you go into a deep depression, or you deeply get affected by anxiety, or you start turning to alcohol. That's when the show's over. And you have to recognize it, and then you have to then turn around and say, if I can't do this by myself, and most people can't get out of that state of mind by themselves. They have to turn to the organisations within their area and say, please help me, please, because I really want to get out of here. I don't want to be here.
Because I think a lot of people do feel on their own, but as you say, the help is there, and there is plenty of help there.
There's plenty of help there, but the problem is you need to put your hand up and say, I need help. And people aren't willing to do that, because sympathy loves a friend. And what happens is, I can recall a conversation one time in a bar in Lurgan when I was sitting, and 2 fellas were sitting at the bar, and one guy had just got, I think he must have got broke up or divorced or separated. And the logic of his friend was, he was pointing at a double vodka, and he said, that will never leave you, that's your mate. Anytime you want that, it's here for you. And his logic was, the alcohol will numb the pain, and it won't let you down. So trust in alcohol. And I remember sitting thinking to myself, It's possibly the worst advice I've ever heard in my life. But at the time, it was exactly what that guy needed to hear, because he was in the horrors. So the two of them raised their glasses and cheers and threw the alcohol into them, and the two of them got stosher. And I thought to myself, when he wakes up in the morning, he will realise that alcohol is not his friend. Alcohol is his worst enemy. But it just comes, it's a wolf in sheep's clothing. It creeps up on you. It tells you it's going to help you. It tells you, I numb the pain, I slow your brain down. I'm your friend. Stick with me. Far from your friend. Don't get me wrong, I drink. I drink more than I should. But I'm trying my best to control it. And I'm trying my best not to give myself an excuse to drink. Because when you have an addiction, or when alcohol or whatever is the go-to helper, you will try and excuse your reason for drinking. Find an excuse. Stub my toe. Can't believe he didn't text me back. Where's the beer? Oh my God, there's it raining today. That's going to be horrible. Where's my alcohol? Because that's what an addiction does. An addiction keeps calling you. So it does. And I mean, when I do my walks up in Belfast and bring those bits and pieces up to a couple of the homeless guys that I know from Lurgan, and I'm noticing more and more hypodermic needles lying about, and paraphernalia to do with heroin, and it's becoming a big problem. So it is. And it's like the ripple effect. It'll start in the city, and then it'll work its way out, and it'll work its way out to the smaller towns, and then before you know it, Lurgan here, you're going to have the fellas saying, what's the next big high? What's the next thing I can turn to? And unfortunately, heroin is, I know someone who lost their brother to a heroin overdose, and no matter how much she tried to help him, he just kept turning to heroin, and it's a scary state of affairs. And I had 3 kids growing up, and it used to be my parents were worried about alcohol. I hope he's not drinking. I hope he's not smoking any of that wacky backy, as they would have called it. Now I'm not worried about alcohol, and I'm not worried about, that you take a wee bit of something, grass or something. My big worry is, are you anywhere in the vicinity of heroin? Because it's making its way down. It and cocaine are rife in most small towns here. And I know people who have got to the stage of the game where they couldn't go to the cinema unless they get themselves a bag of the devil's dandruff, as I call it. But I mean, but that's the addiction. Addiction is an awful thing, so it is, And the depression, the anxiety, the false face, the persona of being happy, go lucky, everything's class. How you doing? How's things? How are you keeping? I'd walk through our town and I'd high five people and, Jim, how are you keeping? Yes, good to see you. What about you? Oh, tip top, mate. No worries about me. And I am making a beeline for my car to get into it, to get down to the house, and to get away from the world. And once I get through the door, the sense of relief. But once I get through the door, my good friend depression, he's sitting on the sofa waiting on me. He said, what kept you? I'm sitting here waiting on you all day. And I even explained to a counsellor that there's times when I was in the worst of my depression, I could see it. The depression there was an image in the room with me, and it was depression, and it was telling me, take all thoughts out of your mind of anything. Just slip into the darkness and stay here with me, because everything is great. And it's the most horrible place in the world to be. And that's how I would never tell anyone who's suffering depression, snap out of it, catch yourself on. They can't. They need someone to nice and softly take them by the hand and just nice and softly walk them away from the depression and give them a reason to let go of it, because some people hold on to it, and it gets a grip of you. So it does. Got a grip of me.
So obviously you've taken your experiences and now are trying to help other people. That's what you're trying to do. And you have made no secret of it that you still suffer from it. But you're trying to tell people that you can have better days and worse days. And
I at the moment I am in receipt of counselling, and at the moment everything is slowed down obviously with this COVID business, but the group that I was with, great bunch of folks, we've all qualified as community health trainers, and we're going to be going out into the community and trying to signpost people, whether they need to go to addictions, to go to a GP, to speak to someone about suicide or about their suicidal thoughts. But even the counsellor I was speaking to, the time I was speaking to her, she explained to me, Paul, I also see a counsellor. She says, I go to counselling once a week. I counsel people all week, and then I go to counselling once a week. She says, because I also have issues that someone else needs to talk me through, because it's like the old expression, you can't see the wood for the trees. I mean, you literally can't see the wood for the trees. It's just, I can't. A friend would always say to me, he would give me advice, and he would say to me at the end of it, and when you work out how to do that, please tell me. He said, because I can't. I'm telling you what to do, but I can't tell myself what to do. Do you know what I mean? And that's exactly what it's like. It's like signposting someone this way and then saying to yourself, but I can't sort my own thing out. But you have to. And I mean, that's what I do. When I get up first thing in the morning, if the notion's on me to stay in bed, if the notion's on me just to lie on the couch and don't get up, first thing I do is I get up, I get my house coat off, I put on me, I have a shower, well, prior to putting on me, and I come out into the garden here. I'm very fortunate, and I listen to the wind in the trees, the birds cheeping, and I start my day. And I say, right, you're not staying in that house today. I go for a walk every morning with my sister. We walk around the lakes, and that's my day kick-started. And I stay out, I go and do whatever I have to do, whatever appointments, whatever, if I have to see a doctor, if I have to see a counsellor, and I stay out, and that's how you beat it. Because locking yourself in a bedroom, locking yourself in a house, or even locking yourself into your own mind, that's where the battle is, and that's where it's going to beat you. So it is.
And so, finally, what advice or what would you like to tell someone that's perhaps watching this video now?
Well,
and feeling those feelings.
My advice is, look, please stop hiding it. Your family know. Your family know. Some of them won't say it. They're afraid to ask you. They're afraid to say. Go to your family. Go to your friends. Go to your GP. Go to a group and just say, I need help. I need help. And that's the admittance. And that's the first big step. And it's like they say, acorns turn into oak trees. You know, every river starts with a single drop of water. Any journey starts with the first step. And when I was on the Camino, I'm walking, and I realized each day I have 40 kilometers ahead of me here, I have 50 kilometers ahead of me here. How do I get it done? Take the first step. Once you took your first step, it's followed by your second, and followed by your third, and next thing you know, you're on your journey. And you just keep going, and you just keep telling yourself, this is a good day, this is a great life, what a wonderful world. There's people in hospitals that are fighting for life, fighting to stay alive, and they would swap places with you in a heartbeat. And that's maybe the people who are not fighting for life, but actually considering checking out. I've had enough. Because life's a gift. So it is, and you really have to grab it with both hands, and you really have to enjoy it as best you can. And when you go through the hard times, battle on. It'll get better. It'll get brighter. The storm will stop.